So let's talk about the science behind this. And you don't have to learn to a PhD's level. They've already done all the great work for us. We don't just say it's the four F's anymore: feeding, fleeing, fighting, or fawning. What we do is say they go into survival mode. And what happens there is the prefrontal cortex, the front part of the brain that's responsible for intellectual thought, becomes impaired, which means we go down to more around the brainstem area, which is more primitive, which relies on reflexes and habits to survive. So that's where some of the feeding and such comes out. When you know you're hungry, you'll go and eat something. So freezing isn't just the old, it's part of the four F's and it happens. It is actually a habit. It's a reflex where you're focusing on the danger and detecting danger. So when that happens, something else has to give, doesn't it? So imagine if you're focusing on a danger, just like I was on that gun when I was held hostage, it will be to the detriment possibly of other senses or other memories. I think I'm already giving you a bit of a clue as to why we shouldn't write somebody off, because their memory is not as detailed or as memory specific as and sensory specific as we would have thought we would have reported it afterwards. Now, when shocked, we don't make good choices. That's the bottom up routine. We don't make good choices. So we can't write somebody off because they, for instance, made the choice afterwards to see that person again, to go for dinner with that person. We can't get caught in that me trap. Just because we wouldn't do it doesn't mean that they should follow our choices. Okay. Now we go to self-protective habits. Again, reflexes. It's not thinking. If we have found that being polite, passive, or even submissive, what is often referred to as fawning now, if that has helped us get away from horrible situations in the past and protected us, we will automatically go to those again. Now, again, before I go to the next slide, remember reflexes. This is important. It's bottom up. It's not thinking. It's just doing because it's worked for us before. Or you get sometimes an inability to do anything. So if it gets to the point that there is no perceived escape, we go to more extreme survival modes, more extreme reflex. And one of them is tonic immobility. And I want you to start thinking now, if you saw this or presented in an interview, would it help you to understand why they are not presenting with the same detail at various levels that you would expect from someone else? This is paralysis, where somebody might not be able to move or speak. Remember I said I went into the hospital and I put my hands up. I was able to do that. That was easy, but I couldn't talk. I went, like that. That was a great example of tonic immobility. The other type of immobility is collapsed immobility. It's more physiological. You might feel weak in the head and say you're feeling off. You might feel faint. You might actually go to sleep or feel tired. You could lose consciousness. You could lose muscle tone and feel weak in the knees. These are all expressions we use to describe this, although it could be used in love too, but this isn't a love course. So we've got that. Now I want you to imagine if somebody now says to you, I didn't fight back. Let's go back to that police officer saying, did you fight back? Did you do this? And she says, I don't remember, or I didn't. Now, in the old days, if we haven't had this training, we would say, oh, that's not reliable. I would have fought back. Why didn't she fight back? And now you can see it could be that she physically or mentally could not go to that step. So we can't blame somebody and decrease our perception of their reliability or accuracy because of the way they present sometimes. Disassociation. This is not like where you are hallucinating. Survivors may report blanking out, being spaced out, being disconnected from their body, or on autopilot might be a term they will use, either the wording or describing it. And I've interviewed people that have said it was like an out-of-body experience, that they were watching themselves from elsewhere, usually above, almost like a bird's eye view. If you notice this, then it might help to explain what they went through. But we don't want to write them off just because they're not talking from inwards. They're talking from as if they're watching as a fly on the wall. And it may seem weird, but it is acceptable. Now, when we get closer to the end, you're going to see that one of the things we can do is, if somebody is traumatized, if we think they are and they're having difficulty talking to us, then we could actually ask them to talk as if they were from outside their body, or get them to draw a sketch, which is a bird's eye view, and it causes them to have reduced anxiety because of it. Now, when we're going through here, I haven't spoken to the fighting or fleeing. Just because somebody doesn't do it, it could happen. They could describe it, but let's not see it as a negative if they don't. Okay, we can't write them off just because of that.